May 1977. Britain still half asleep after the Winter of Discontent. Fuel is expensive, strikes are everywhere, and disco is trying its best to cheer people up. But on British roads, things are far less funky. Enter Episode 2 of Top Gear. No loud jackets, no studio audience. Just a few cars, a BBC camera crew, and the smell of damp carpet in a Birmingham parking lot. But don't let the beige visuals fool you. This one packs heat. First, the Mercedes-Benz 240D, or as it's known among taxi drivers, the immortal one. Built like a bank vault, powered like a lawnmower, and somehow brilliant. Then we're strapping into the Citroën GS, a space-age oddball with suspension from another planet and brakes that feel more like a dare. And then comes the Austin Allegro, Britain's biggest automotive punchline, squaring the steering wheel like it's rewriting physics. You can't ignore it. You can't explain it, but you can drive it. Sort of. And lurking in the background, the Germans. The VW Golf Mark I makes a quiet cameo. Not flashy, not loud, but watching, planning. Getting ready to ruin everyone's 5-year plan. This episode isn't about horsepower or hero laps. It's about real cars for real people. Ones that clunked, coughed, and somehow still made it to Tesco and back. This was the battlefield of average, the trenches of mediocrity, the era when a plastic wheel trim counted as an upgrade. So crank your window down, manually obviously, and brace yourself for the most unassuming motoring chaos the 70s ever produced. This is Four Wheels and Fuel, and this is where motoring reality began.
$22,000 sedan today that has the nerve to put function first. The Mercedes-Benz 240D. Surgically precise steering, tenacious road holding, powerful fade-resistant disc brakes.
Mercedes-Benz 240D W123, the car equivalent of a granite sculpture wearing reading glasses. The Mercedes-Benz 240D, part of the indestructible W123 series. This wasn't a car, it was an institution. Launched in 1976, the W123 became the vehicle of choice for diplomats, doctors, and diesel disciples. And the 240D, with its 2.4-liter inline-4 diesel engine, was the slowest of the lot. Just 65 horsepower, 0 to 60 in a time best measured in episodes of Morse, and yet, it might be the best one of them all. You didn't buy a 240D for speed. You bought one because you intended to outlive your neighbors and take your car with you. This thing was engineered with military-grade overkill. Panel gaps were so tight they made other manufacturers cry. The paint could survive nuclear fallout, and the doors closed with the satisfying thunk of a safe deposit box. Inside, everything you needed, nothing you didn't. Chunky steering wheel, rock-solid plastics, seats like orthopedic furniture. You didn't drive a 240D, you piloted it, slowly, with immense dignity. The diesel engine, ancient by today's standards, was whispered legends back then, not because it was quick, but because it never, ever died. In fact, some W123 taxis in Africa and the Middle East have over 1 million miles on the original engine. Think about that. This was a car so reliable, it literally reshaped the used car market. Top Gear didn't burn rubber in one, obviously, but they respected it. Everyone did, because while the Peugeot 504 GLD crowd was stuck with cold start issues, the W123 was gliding past like a retired colonel who'd seen things and didn't need to brag about them. It wasn't cheap, but it was good value, and it sent a message. I care about quality, I care about longevity, and I care not one jot for your turbocharged nonsense. The 240D was a statement, one made softly, slowly, and with astonishing grace. It didn't roar, it endured. And in the world of 1970s motoring, that made it royalty. Citroën GS. Now, the Citroën GS. A car so French, you can almost hear it complaining about motorway coffee. This wasn't just transportation. This was rolling philosophy. Citroën didn't build cars. They built ideas, preferably ones that floated 6 inches above the ground and terrified every mechanic from Hereford to Helsinki. Launched in 1970, the GS was Citroën's way of saying, we could have built something normal, but where's the fun in that? It slotted right between the cheap 2CV and the luxurious DS, the sweet spot where a middle-class accountant could feel like an astronaut. Let's talk suspension, because that's where the magic lives. The GS didn't have springs. No, that's too boring. It had hydropneumatic suspension, spheres filled with pressurized fluid that let the car rise and fall like a breathing beast. It was comfortable, yes, but it was also bonkers. You parked it, and the car slowly settled down like it was going to sleep. You started it, and it rose from the dead like Frankenstein's hatchback. Under the bonnet, a 1.2-liter air-cooled flat 4 sounding more like a blender full of gravel than an engine. It made about 60 horsepower on a good day and about 45 on a bad one. But power wasn't the point. The GS was all about ride quality and weirdness. The brakes? Inside the gearbox. Yes, really. The dashboard? A plastic moonscape with rotating drum speedometers and buttons placed wherever a rational engineer wouldn't put them. And yet, it worked. It cornered with eerie smoothness. It floated over potholes like they weren't there. And in a time when most cars handled like wheelie bins, the GS felt like a revelation. A very soft, very squeaky revelation. Top Gear didn't mock it. They respected it. Because even though it looked like a squashed spaceship and whined like a stressed accordion, the GS showed that comfort, design, and madness could all coexist in one family car. You didn't just drive a Citroën GS, you committed to it, you adjusted your worldview, you relearned how suspension worked, and you accepted that, yes, your car might be smarter than you.
Allegro, the new driving force from Austin. If you'd like a nice quiet run in the new Austin Allegro, pop in and see us for a test drive.
Austin Allegro. Ah yes, the Austin Allegro. The car that proves not every revolution ends in victory. Some just break down in a little chef car park. The Allegro arrived in 1973, straight out of British Leyland's fever dream. It was meant to replace the ADO 16, the best-selling car in Britain at the time. No pressure. BL's answer? This curious, bloated loaf of a vehicle that looked like a saloon, but felt more like a slow-motion accident. Let's talk styling. The Allegro was supposed to be sleek and modern. What we got looked like a frog that lost a fight with a belt sander. The designers wanted curves. The engineers wanted straight lines. The final result? Compromise, everywhere, and not the good kind. Then there's the interior. And yes, we have to. The Allegro featured the now legendary Quartic steering wheel. Not round, not oval, but a squarish blob of design rebellion. British Leyland insisted it made ingress easier. Most drivers insisted it made driving harder. The press laughed. The public winced. And eventually, BL quietly dropped it, hoping nobody noticed. Under the bonnet, the Allegro had a range of engines, from a 1 to a 1.5 litre, mostly inherited from older models. They weren't bad exactly, just uninspired. You didn't buy an Allegro for excitement. You bought it because it existed, and your local dealership had one in beige. Ride quality? Decent, thanks to hydrogas suspension, which was BL's way of saying, we wanted to be Citroën but couldn't afford spheres. It worked well enough until it didn't, especially when the gas leaked out and you were left bouncing like a pogo stick on one side. Reliability? Legendary. For the wrong reasons. Water leaks, rust, electrical gremlins. The Allegro had it all. It became shorthand for everything wrong with British car manufacturing. And yet, people bought it. Thousands of people. Because they had no choice. And because Margaret down the road had one and said it was all right once you get used to the choke. In episode 2, Top Gear didn't hold back. You could hear the exasperation in every line. The Allegro was a national experiment, and the results were mixed, mostly with oil. And yet, there's something weirdly lovable about it. It tried. It failed. But it tried. That strange little blob is part of our motoring DNA, like spam fritters and rainy bank holidays. The Allegro wasn't just a car. It was a character.
A new VW is here. Golf, the Volkswagen Compact. A lot of power, a lot of space, a lot of fun.
Volkswagen Golf Mark I. And now the car that didn't make a fuss in episode 2, but absolutely deserved to. The VW Golf Mark I. No weird suspension, no Quartic wheel, just relentless calculated German engineering. Launched in 1974, the Golf Mark I replaced the beloved Beetle. It was front-wheel drive, boxy, and unpretentious, like a Bavarian accountant in hatchback form. Its 1.1 and 1.5-liter petrol engines didn't thrill, but they didn't need to. What mattered was reliability, practicality, and the fact that you could drive one without booking it in for weekly therapy. Where the Allegro wobbled, the Golf steered. Where the GS buzzed, the Golf hummed. It felt precise, modern, and inevitable. You just knew this was the future. Top Gear didn't shout about it yet, but history would. Because this car, quiet, understated, unstoppable, would go on to define the entire hatchback genre. It wasn't just another car in the episode. It was the car that changed the game when no one was looking. And there you have it, a diesel-powered Ironman with 4 wheels, Citroën lunacy, British Leyland's bold attempt to redefine mediocrity, and a German car ready for global domination, all packed in one episode soaked in rust, rattles, and the occasional stroke of genius. This wasn't a fantasy garage. This was the real motoring world of 1977. To some, just a box on wheels. To others, an entire youth wrapped in oil and engine noise. Recognize it? Drop your story below. Top Gear didn't glamorize it. It poked it, prodded it, and asked the question we're still asking today. Is this car absolute rubbish or just misunderstood? This is 4 Wheels and Fuel, where we take old motoring history, wring it out like an oily rag, and see what's left underneath. And if you've made it this far without throwing a Quartic steering wheel at your screen, do the decent thing. Like, subscribe, and ring the bell. Because next episode, we're heading to Eastern Europe, gluing a boot to a car, and watching the simplicity of French ingenuity. Go on, hit subscribe. It's cheaper than a new clutch and almost as satisfying.